hailstorm, a disaster so sudden, so brutal, that within minutes it can crush an entire city. When ice falls from the sky, it doesn't drift down softly. It comes crashing like a million stones hurled from above. Streets that were once alive with children, markets, and noise are silenced in seconds. Cars are shredded with dents as if struck by hammers. Windows explode into shards. Roofs collapse under the relentless pounding. For those caught outside, there is no escape. A single hailstone can strike with the force of a falling brick. Imagine hundreds, thousands raining down without mercy. People run for cover, but even shelter is fragile. Tin roofs shatter, trees split apart, entire homes cave in under the icy assault. We often talk about earthquakes that shake the earth, floods that drown entire towns, or hurricanes that rip cities apart. But storms of ice are different. They don't give hours of warning. They don't build slowly. They arrive in an instant, turning ordinary weather into an apocalyptic nightmare. And the world rarely pays attention. Governments write them off as just bad weather. The news cycle moves on, and survivors are left to rebuild in silence. But history holds terrifying reminders. Hail has killed thousands, wiped out harvests, and left once thriving cities in ruins. Tonight, we uncover those forgotten stories of the times when ice rained from the sky and entire cities fell beneath its weight. – 2010. The deadly hailstorm of China. In March 2010, central China was struck by a storm no one could have predicted. At first, it seemed like an ordinary spring thunderstorm. But within moments, the skies unleashed something far more dangerous, a torrent of ice. Giant hailstones, some the size of eggs, began smashing down with terrifying force. Streets filled with panicked people as cars were pounded into twisted wrecks. Windows shattered, power lines collapsed, and entire villages were left in darkness. The destruction was relentless. Crops across thousands of acres were wiped out in a single evening, leaving farmers with nothing but fields of ice and broken stalks. Roofs crumbled under the weight, and families huddled in fear as the storm tore apart everything they owned. By the time the sky cleared, more than 20 people had lost their lives. Hundreds were injured, and the economic damage ran into the millions of dollars. Survivors compared the scene to a war zone, describing the hail as stones falling from the sky with the anger of heaven itself. This wasn't the 1800s. This wasn't forgotten history. This was 2010, proof that even in the modern age, with technology, forecasting, and strong infrastructure, nature still has the power to crush entire communities with nothing more than ice. – 2023. Italy's monster hailstorm. In the summer of 2023, as most of Europe battled heat waves, northern Italy faced the complete opposite, a storm that would leave the nation in shock. The skies turned black, thunder cracked across the horizon, and then it began. Hailstones the size of oranges plummeting from above. Cars on the highways were shredded within seconds, their windshields exploding like fragile glass. Roof tiles shattered. Crops that had taken months to grow were destroyed in minutes, and terrified families rushed for shelter as the storm raged with unstoppable fury. Hospitals across the region were flooded with the injured. More than 200 people hospitalized with broken bones, deep cuts, and concussions caused by falling ice. Local officials described the scene as a war zone, where entire towns looked like they had been bombed, not battered by the sky. What made it even more shocking was its timing. In the middle of scorching summer, Italy was struck not by drought or wildfire, but by a storm of ice so violent that it broke European records. For many, it was a wake-up call, a reminder that nature doesn't follow patterns, and that climate extremes mean hail can now arrive anywhere, anytime with catastrophic force.
The Oklahoma City area is bracing for more severe weather later today. Here's a look at what happened last night. This is damaging hail. Some of that hail the size of grapefruits. Property damage and dozens of injuries were reported. There were also wind gusts exceeding 60 miles per hour. Nearly 100,000 customers lost power last night.
2010. The Oklahoma Super Hailstorm. In April 2010, Oklahoma witnessed a storm that residents will never forget. Dark clouds gathered, thunder rolled across the plains, and then the sky began to rain ice. But this wasn't ordinary hail. These were giant chunks of frozen rock, some larger than softballs, slamming into the ground at terrifying speed. Cars were pummeled until they looked like crushed tin cans. Roofs were ripped apart, entire neighborhoods battered beyond recognition. For farmers, the storm was catastrophic. Wheat fields that promised a season of prosperity were wiped out in minutes. Families watched helplessly as months of labor vanished under an ocean of ice. This was Oklahoma's wake-up call. Even in a state hardened by tornadoes and storms, hail proved itself a disaster powerful enough to rival any hurricane or earthquake. Hailstorms are not just random weather. They are nature's silent assassins. In minutes, they can destroy homes, wipe out farms, and leave entire cities in ruins. History has shown us how deadly they can be. But the question is, are we truly prepared for the next one? If you believe these hidden disasters deserve to be remembered, then like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more untold stories of nature's fury, because the next storm might be closer than we think.